and welcome, beloveds, to the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr.MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well, excuse me, in all your ways, and that you are moving into living life truly on your own terms. Thanks to every single person that has subscribed to both the Dr. Mumbi Show and the Dr. Mumbi Live. Go ahead and check out our secondary channel, Dr. Mumbi Live. Subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you've hit that notification button so that you find out every single time we release a new episode. We also want to thank everyone that supports us financially on our Patreon account, that helps us to pay our researchers and our editing team. Now, very interesting story coming out of the divided kingdom, where the UK is actually facing a lawsuit over a $1 billion aid package to Mozambique. And it's not aid, it's actually an investment to a Mozambique gas project. Now, this particular Mozambique gas project was invested heavily. It's basically fossil fuels, and we know that the whole world is moving away from any kind of fossil fuels development, any kind of things that will do terrible environmental damage. And this particular Mozambique LNG, first of all, this story caught my attention because of how it operates. So the UK government, under this particular deal, the UK Export Finance Council, they were actually going to be paying French oil major Total which operates the Mozambique LNG, to continue extracting the gas and exporting it to Europe in the biggest ever financing venture in Africa. And you see, this is why we need to realize, we need to read between the letters, and read between the sentences, and read between the fine print. Because so many times we're told big investment in Africa, big exploration in Africa, oil found in Africa, gold found in Africa, Mozambique now, $1 billion, Mozambique project to extract gas. But when you look at it, all the players are Mzungu. And I did a story the other day where I was talking about how, Kenya had been dubbed like the new Silicon Valley, and all these all these startups were doing really well. There was like an incubation vibe in Nairobi, only to find out that Silicon Valley is a major investor in a lot of the startups in Africa, and the people they're investing in are the people that look like themselves. So you see, this is why we need to really start understanding the kind of contracts our governments are getting into, because we are always disenfranchised. So this $1 billion oil, gas, sorry, it's a gas expropriation, whatever, contract, was not touching any African hand. It was going directly from the UK taxpayer, which includes our African brothers and sisters, straight to the Total, the French company, which was running it. And there's nowhere. But the only thing it would do is it would affect our environment, our African environment, and it would affect the communities that live close to this gas project. And the thing is, whenever these deals come through, we're always, it's always like it's going to employ all these jobs, it's going to do, and create employment in Mozambique, it's going to do A, B, C, D. But when you look closer at it, if you're not a part of senior management, if you're not part of, the directors or the board of governors or whatever they like to call themselves, if you're not part of, no one like you is at that top tier, then what the jobs they're providing are not going to, because you are the inheritors. That gas belongs to you. Those resources belong to you. So if you're not the major benefactor, we have to find a way to be the generation that says no. So, and there are different campaigners who have actually come out. There's Friends of the Earth, who have accused the divided kingdom government of failing to take into account the project's impact, on the environment, nor to tackle the climate crisis. And they cited the fact that, the UK was actually going to be holding the next climate conference or climate change conference. And so this was kind of a slap in the face. So we may actually see these activists in the divided kingdom suing the government. one of the campaigners, someone called Tony Bosworth, he said, the government had shown gross hypocrisy by claiming to be a global leader on tackling the climate crisis while using taxpayers' money to fund a project that would have massive climate impacts in a country that probably didn't know any better when everyone is moving from this kind of technology. And that's what we're seeing, is that while Europe has clamped down on a lot of these, fossil fuels and these, technologies that harm the environments, what their companies are now doing is they're coming to the Mozambiques of this world and kind of transferring their infrastructure. That's why we've also been seeing China doing the same, because they've suffered so much from pollution. And so now they invested very, very heavily in coal mines. So now they're exporting those coal mines to different parts of the world. They were really trying to get them into Africa because, they know it's pollution, but it's all about the money. It's all about the mammon who controls this world right now. So, the UKEF declined to share the results of its assessment because they had carried out an assessment of the project. So they were citing how it was going to create all these jobs, and they declined to share any of the reports. But the project is actually listed as a Category A, which is like the worst of the worst in terms of pollution. Which means it means it risks adverse environmental and social impacts that are irreversible or unprecedented, and requires prospective backers to undertake an impact assessment review, but that has not been done. But now we're seeing, we got to be grateful for the activists of this world who, have always protected us from their own, in a way. But now we must protect ourselves from others. Until next time, tuko pamoja. Hello and welcome to Africa Watch on the Dr. Mumbi Show. My name is Dr. MumbiSeraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I pray you're well in all your ways and that you are living your best life. A recent report came out and it talked about how corruption is perceived in Africa as the number one obstacle to African development, to African integration, to African unity, and to the true liberation of the continent. A lot of people see that, many governments across the continent actually not only do they facilitate, a lot of corruption, but even if they win an election on a corruption agenda, it's usually just like they're paying lip service, like nothing ever happens. We've never had someone executed because they stole from Africa. That's what should happen. We've never had someone put in put in jail for life for stealing a couple $1 million. So every new politician becomes a member of parliament, becomes a congressman, becomes a president, becomes a deputy president, with the ambitions of being the next king of their nation, with the ambitions of being the next baller of their nation, because that's just how it's always done. And to make it worse, what is really damaging to our collective psyche is the fact that every one of these corrupt leaders appears to have gotten away with it. Although, karma is real. A lot of these people aren't spiritual. So, well, actually, a lot of them are brotherhood. I take that back. But a lot of people are spiritual. They don't realize karma. So you steal, and then you wonder why your kids are alcoholics, your kids can't get married, your daughters are barren. See how true that is? Anyway, stories for other days. So now, so there's been a lot of fight against corruption, but sometimes there's more willingness abroad than locally. And recently, an ex-Credit Suisse banker has actually admitted to receiving kickbacks in Mozambique over a scam of projects that never ever existed. And the scam was worth $2 billion. And what happened is that this banker, he's called Andrew Pierce, he actually admitted to taking millions of dollars in kickbacks as part of a scam that involved $2 billion in loans to Mozambique state-owned companies for projects that never existed, never took off, were never executed, etc., etc. Now, the plea agreement and all other state records have actually been sealed, so it's not clear exactly, the full extent of his charges, what the agreement is. Is he going to sell out some people? Allegedly, he did willingly forfeit $2.5 million and an unspecified number of properties, and he could actually face 20 years in prison. This is not a joke, but this is huge because these are the same people that facilitate corruption. What have I been saying? Guys, didn't last month, I'm telling you, last month I did a story where I talked about, what about foreign banks and foreign banks that are facilitating a lot of the corruption in Africa, and foreign media that don't talk about the foreign banks because they get such heavy advertising revenue from them.